Hello, sir. How are you?
Great, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
How come?
Life is good. Every day I wake up and I have oxygen in my lungs, that's more than enough reason to not complain. So
That sounds like gratitude to me.
absolutely. Yes, sir.
Good for you.
And I'm also on a call with you. So, it's always good to connect with people that's been with me from the very beginning. And now look at us, ready to pay it forward for others.
I wanted to get together with you anyway, but I wanted to talk to you about, kind of backtrack a little bit. We've been through so much together, right? I mean, we met, when did you graduate?
I graduated college in 2017. I believe we first met in 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow, 7 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Holy shit. All right. So, um, I have since, you're my first mentee, and I knew I was built for this when I met you. I knew right away from shaking your hand. And when you looked me in the eye, and I said, out of 50 kids, that's my guy. And I know you know the story. And I said to Cameron and Greg, let's have a competition, 17 kids each of us, roughly, do an elevator pitch, and my guy is going to win. And you did.
Wow.
I knew right away.
From the
I
very
saw
beginning.
something in you that is unusual, and you don't see it right away. Most people, from a mere handshake, you have to get to know somebody, see what they're made of, see what their resilience is. Not you. I saw all of that in a very short period of time, and I was right, which is not always the case.
Well,
But
thank you. I'm grateful for you being able to highlight that and see that in me from the very beginning.
well, yeah, I've always said how much I appreciate you for teaching me that as well, because we've learned a lot from each other, and we continue to, and we will continue to as well. So that will never change. I have nothing but respect for you and your journey, which is why I wanted to highlight it a little bit today. You come from an unlikely place to have graduated college. There's a lot of people, as you and I both know, that are in a similar situation that you faced growing up, and they're faced with very difficult choices on a daily basis. And what I'm hopeful to accomplish by having these conversations, right, with people like yourself, is that we can inspire the next generation of people who think that they have no chance to go to college, no chance to succeed out of the world they're living in. It's impoverished, right? It is bleak in some regards,
Mhm.
right? They have all kinds of distractions that confront them that could lead them to jail or death, right? Gangs and crime and things like that, where you're left with no choice,
Yep.
job opportunities, and there's nobody who really they're not gifted necessarily, they're regular people. Okay, and that leaves people sometimes hopeless. And so my goal here is to have a conversation with you to kind of go backwards a little bit and
Okay.
talk about where you come from, how you made it out, and the importance of persevering that led you to the path you're on today and where you think it's going to take you in the future. So I really just wanted to focus our first conversation on today, on past, because the goal of that timeline that I laid out for you is to have somebody who's in middle school see it and say, and see themselves in you, and be able to then be inspired to think, well, if he could do it, I could. You know, I can't inspire people. I'm just a regular, run-of-the-mill guy who's, middle class, who was kind of expected to go to college, and my parents both graduated. So it's less an inspiring story from my standpoint, but from the lens of your life, it means so much more and adds credibility to it. And that's why I have such respect for you and what you've accomplished. So
Thank you.
that's the setup. And now what I wanted to do is we'll just sort of kind of we'll add some questions so that we can hear from you. So going back to middle school, right? Let me take you back in your life for a little bit now. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Let's just say the age of 14, give or take.
Mm.
You are in Norfolk, Virginia. You're in middle school. Did you have any mentors? Was there a teacher who recognized potential in you? Did you think that college wasn't for you? Where was your mindset back in middle school in terms of future education for a job? Or were you just living life day to day thinking that that's not for me and I'll probably just, get a job if I can somewhere else, somewhere local, or maybe go in the military? What was your mindset at the time in middle school?
Wow. Going back to middle school, a lot had already taken place in my life with watching my family navigate my sister having childhood cancer. So when I got to middle school, I already kind of felt out of place, well opposed to a lot of my peers who had the latest shoes and latest clothes. For me, I remember in middle school only having like one pair of shoes throughout the whole school year, maybe two or three pair of pants, and nothing but like white V-neck t-shirts. And that was discouraging for me, But not only was it discouraging for me, but it set something in me to want more. But before I could even get into thinking of wanting more, I had to navigate that lost feeling, that feeling of being lost, that feeling of being confused, that feeling of, not knowing where my next meal will come from and seeing my family struggle. But the older I got, the more that I matured, the more I realized that, it's possible to change the narrative of my story. It's possible to change the direction of where I'm going at. I get tired of seeing my family struggle. I got tired of seeing my peers in my community struggle. And I just wanted so much more for myself. My sister, she was homeschooled at the time. So they would have like a teacher to actually come out to our house to teach my sister because of her condition with dealing with cancer. And one of the teachers looked at me and he said, "I see something in you. I want to keep you around." So he kind of took me under his wing and he kind of like mentored me and kind of molded me and really planted the seed. So when I finally got to high school, those seeds finally started to grow. But middle school, it was rough. I didn't have a sense of identity. I didn't know who I was. I was really confused. And that kind of rolled over into high school as well. But I think middle school really, set the tone for me really being able to face adversity and really understand what it is that I was dealing with, Um, but
Were you
fortunately enough
confronted
for
at
me,
that time with gangs or crime or anything that would have set you down the wrong path?
there was a lot of things that, that was in my way, a lot of roadblocks, I remember vividly, every day going to the bus stop and guys smoking weed and, like that alone is kind of like the standard that was set for young people in my community, Let's smoke weed 100 miles per hour. Let's go to school. Let's fight the rival neighborhood that's literally across the tracks, the railroad tracks from us. And it was all of this confusion, all of this pride of coming where we come from. We didn't really have gangs, but we represented our neighborhood. And just seeing a lot of my peers go to school first block in breakfast, fighting the rival neighborhood, it's just like I don't want to get caught up in that. But at the same time, I don't know who I am. I don't have a sense of identity. So just really trying to navigate being with the in crowd, and then also trying to find myself it was challenging within itself, But I think fortunately for me, trying different things like trying to like run track and seeing that it's possible to get to the next level from others who was able to do the same thing coming from where I came from. It's like, you know what, I don't have to walk down that same path as everybody else. I can be my own individual self.
Okay, you raised such an important point, Naeem. Lacking a sense of identity, of who you are. And that's such a common theme. And I mean, for anybody of any socioeconomic background, right? Rich or
Yes.
poor, black or white, it doesn't matter. At a certain age, you don't know who you are. The difference is some people have people to help them through it. What happens when you don't have anybody to help you establish who you are? A coach, a teacher, an older brother, an uncle, a father figure, a positive male role model influence in your life, especially as a young Black male, when
Mhm.
it's so important, right? All these things are happening, coming at you 100 miles an hour, right? And you're trying to figure it out. How do I fit in? You kind of
Mhm.
realize I don't have the latest shoes or clothes, and my family's struggling. I want more. I'm powerless to get it because I'm just a kid. So you take that and it could derail people. It could get them discouraged to the point where they stop trying because they think the world is conspiring against them, right? Instead of having
Right.
the patience and the confidence to persevere, right? They
Mhm.
can fall off the rails. So you take that sense of confusion and you get into high school and now you're running track, or there's a discipline involved there. Did you have a coach? Did you have a teacher? Did you have somebody who took an interest in you, that kind of forced you to be more disciplined and to have take pride in yourself at that? Was that 10th, 11th grade, somewhere in there?
I will tell you what, I ran track in middle school. It really didn't work out for me, but this was an effort for me to try to do something different than well opposed to what was taking place in my community at the time. When
Hmm.
I got to high school, I was in a marching band, really. You know, no, despite my sister going through all of what she was going through, my mom would always bring the family together by taking us to like a HBCU college football game. And me seeing the marching band, me seeing like the students, I wanted to be a part of that. So when I got into high school, I joined the marching band. And I would like to say that marching band really is like it really gave me the discipline that I was looking for. Granted, I still was facing, the discouragement from not having all of the cool things that my friends and my peers had. But me being in a marching band, me having a gift, me, investing my time in the arts was really gave me the substance that I needed in order to further not only be an outlet from the streets and the community where I grew up in, but it also gave me the vision to say, hey, if I'm watching this band and I invest in my talent and my skill for the next 4 years, I could potentially get a scholarship to go to college, and just having fun, as a young high school student, doing something that's not violent, doing something that's not going to cause me to be incarcerated, and just doing something that makes other people enjoy, whatever it is that we're performing at, and not only that, but also instilling the discipline in me, to be able to, get to where I'm at today, really set the tone for the ultimate pursuit throughout high school and then ultimately going to college as well.
Wow. So you actually were able to visualize and see the marching band as a vehicle towards college for you at a particular age, at 10th, 11th grade, somewhere in high school?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And but you know what? The difference is I had a lot of peers that was outstanding athletes, football players and basketball players that could have probably went to the league, but they didn't have the vision to take this basketball skill, to take this football skill and want to take it to the next level so that they can go to college. And to me, that's wasted talent. And no shade to any of my friends, anything like that. But for any young person that's watching this, if you have a gift, if you have a talent, if you have a passion, if you want to be the next LeBron James, then by all means, spend your time investing into your craft because it will pay off in the long run. And that's the vision that I have, well, opposed to a lot of my peers in the neighborhood that I grew up in. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to march in that college marching band, but it was a matter of me executing and being patient and perfecting my craft so that I can get to that point. A lot of my peers, they really threw their gifts and their talents to the wayside because they was caught up in everything that was going on in the neighborhood. But the ultimate goal is to make it out of the neighborhood. and we all have gifts and talents that allow us to get out of the neighborhood. So
What you're saying is so true. And there's a component to it that I find to be consistent with people like yourself who I talk to, who I mentor. And that component is belief. Somebody believed in them. When you have talent, physical talent, gifts that you've worked on and crafted, without the confidence that you've built up because somebody believed in you, and it's typically a coach, it's an uncle, it's an older brother, it's a teacher, it's somebody. Every single person I talk to has somebody who believed in them. Because when someone believes in you, they create this vision that it's possible.
mhm.
Without that thought in your brain that tells you this is possible, I could actually play at the next level, you don't believe it yourself. You're a rare person who had that vision, who believed in yourself because of the things you wanted, the things you saw. That's a very mature attitude that doesn't come around often, which is one of the things that makes you special. But my guess is you probably had somebody along the way who believed in you, that gave you that confidence to have that vision, to believe. And for all I know, maybe it was just conversations with God that you had on your own and on Sundays at church. Maybe it
Yes,
was
sir.
somebody who interacted with you for a short period of time. It wasn't as big a mentor at the time that you thought, but later on, in retrospect, they turned out to be a much bigger influence in your life than you thought at the time.
Hmm. Yes, sir. So for me, my faith is everything. Seeing my sister go through brain surgery after brain surgery and chemotherapy, that really built my faith up. And then having both my mom and my dad, to be present in my life and to kind of plant the seeds, for me. But what really done it for me, I wouldn't say it was a specific mentor or someone that specifically believed in me. It was more so the mistakes that a lot of my family members made, and for me to see the mistakes that they made and say, you know what? I don't want to go down that same path. I don't want to make those same mistakes. I'm talking about my uncles, I'm talking about my older brothers. I'm a first generation high school graduate. So seeing the struggles that my family face and say, you know what, I'm tired of struggling. Somebody has to break this cycle. And understanding that at a young age is really what was the driving force behind me being determined to live a different lifestyle.
It's amazing because some people would have lost faith in God when these terrible things happen, but somehow you were able to turn to God, increase your faith. How?
The struggle, there's a quote that I always like to say, never allow your struggle to become your identity. And
Oh,
there was one point in my life in
powerful.
high school.
That's powerful, man. I love it.
Yeah, never allow your
Oh,
struggle to become your
wow, dude.
identity.
I wasn't expecting that, man. That I need a minute for that to sink in. I think all listeners need to hear that. Say that again, please.
Never allow your struggle to become your identity. And what I mean by that is if you're going through something, that's not who you are. That's just a process of who you're becoming. I felt a lot of pain in my past. And I'm not saying that, oh, it was easy or it was a piece of cake or I had this mentor and that mentor. So I had everything given to me. No, I allowed the pain that I endured from watching my family struggle, from watching people in my community struggle, and I utilized that as a stepping stone to get to the next level, whether it was mentally or even physically. Nobody in my community was running around trying to stay fit. These were some of the things that I had to do to stand outside of the social norm in my community. A lot of guys like to be at the basketball court shooting dice or smoking or doing whatever they're doing. But me, I'm running to the bridge so I can stay determined, so I can stay focused, so I can maintain that discipline and not be pulled into that crab barrel, if that makes sense.
Yeah. When you were doing these things to maintain your discipline, did you find that the people around you, friends maybe, just possibly out of envy alone, were they ever discouraging you from doing those things?
You know what? Consciously and subconsciously, yes. Friends always want to hang out. They always want to get into different things, and this. I'm glad that I was able to experience that in middle school and in high school because when I got to college, a lot of my friends wanted to go to the club and they want to hang out on the yard and do these things. But because I had that tunnel vision from the very beginning in high school, understanding that, you know what, I would not allow myself to settle for the lifestyle that everyone else around me is settling for. I was able to have that tunnel vision. I was able to put my blinders on so that I could focus specifically on where I wanted to go at. Now, that where I wanted to go at in the long run was unclear for me, but I knew from my faith, I knew from my work ethic, I knew from my discipline that me being in Norfolk, Virginia was not my final destination. Remember, never allow your struggle to become your identity. That's part of
Amen.
the faith, having faith in yourself to get to the next level.
Amen to that. So it just seems like it takes an unusually large amount of determination and dedication and belief in yourself to maintain that discipline, to get through, to have that tunnel vision, to know that there's more for your life than where you are, especially when all of the people around you, as you say, didn't have that desire, much less belief or determination, to ever get out of Norfolk.
Mhm.
Right? They were going to be there, and that was predetermined almost for them. Their struggle became their identity.
Yep.
So, for the younger person listening now who's inspired by this story and says, well, Naeem, you just always had it in you. What kind of advice can you give to these younger kids who are facing similar problems and issues? They're from an impoverished neighborhood. Maybe they don't have a mother and a father in the home. Maybe they're exposed to, like you said, drugs and gangs and just bad influences, and they haven't found that passion. Maybe they're not a great basketball player. Maybe they're just a regular kid. What I'm trying to figure out is, how do we create a pathway, some ideas that can be tangible and understood by a kid who could say, "Wow, I want to be like Naeem."
Well, I guess I'll start off by saying dream big. No matter where you are in life, dream as big as possible, because dreams do come true. But the kicker to that is it's going to take a lot of work ethic. It's going to take a lot of discipline. It's going to take a lot of failures. I failed a lot in my life, but I don't look at failures as, oh, I failed, I give up. I look at failure as a lesson learned, so the next time I get up and I try it again, I know how to navigate this situation now because I failed the first time. And now I'm becoming an expert at navigating adversity. So if you're not talented, if you don't have like the basketball skills or the football skills or anything like that, try to find somebody in entertainment or somebody that you know in the community that you can look up to and say, hey, not only do I want to be like him, but I want to stand on their shoulders and be 10 times greater, And it's almost like, competing against yourself. You're not in competition with nobody, but you're always studying others who have, already succeeded above you. So see what they did so that you can do it and do it better. So that's what I did. I look for that scholar that made straight A's that come from the same neighborhood as me and say, you know what? You're in the 11th grade, about to be in the 12th grade, then ultimately you're going to college. I want to be like that. I'm going to challenge myself to make straight A's just like you did. And, you utilize those forms of motivation to keep you pushing, and it doesn't come easy. Believe that, it's a process and you just have to simply trust the process.
So seeking out and elevating good influences sounds like a real plan that you did by witnessing, by understanding who in your community was destined for success, and then saying, I want to be like them. So finding people you want to emulate. You are who you roll with is an old saying.
Mm-hmm.
And if you run with the wrong crowd, you're going to get into some bad trouble. And if
Yep.
you run with better influences, they're going to make you better.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So everything every one thing I've noticed is every smart person I've ever talked to is a reader.
Mhm.
They read for pleasure so that when they read for work or college, it came easier. Did you enjoy reading as a kid? When did you get into reading? Did you ever read for pleasure? Because some people they'll read like book series like Harry Potter and they rip through it. I never did that as a kid. I got into some other. Took me till college to really enjoy reading for pleasure. But it
Right.
hurt me in the reading comprehension of the SAT, which I find to be a very important skill set for life in general.
Mhm.
Did you enjoy reading as a kid? At what point in time did you begin that process to know that you could? Because college requires a lot of reading too.
Yes. For me, actually, I was lucky because I did not enjoy reading at the time, but my parents planted the seeds in me. They purchased books for me that they knew was far advanced for me at my reading level. And, they purchased the books for me maybe in ninth and 10th grade. I didn't start picking up these books until the 11th and the 12th grade. But the fact that they gave me the books that I could relate to. Now, me, I'm an African American male. I can't relate to Harry Potter, but find some books that I can relate to. And, I don't care if it's Sports Illustrated, long as I'm working my mind and reading stories about, reading different success stories, that was something that helped to elevate me so when I did get to college, I could tell myself, you know what? This person did it. I can do it too. You know what? I struggled in middle school. I struggled in high school. Now that I'm in college, I will not perform the way that I performed back then. This is the opportunity for me to redeem myself. So, like I said, utilizing my past failures to start to as a stepping stone to get to the next level. I struggled reading in middle school and high school, but when I got to college, I was determined not to perform that way when I was in college.
It's an important point because it gives hope to kids right now who might be struggling with reading to
Mhm.
know that you've got a lot of time in front of you. You can be patient, right? Um, it made me think because I've got I was the same way, and we so much of life is reading. What point in time did you think to yourself, not only could I go, but I could excel at college? Because clearly, when you're struggling reading, college is not the first thought in your mind. And even
Right.
going into the marching band, you thought, well, maybe that's a vehicle to college, but I don't know if I can succeed there, if I would enjoy it, because college isn't for everybody. Some people can benefit from going to a vocational school or something like that. When
Mhm.
did you know, or at least think pretty certain that college was for you and that you could succeed at it?
I remember my high school graduation. Now, granted, I'm a first generation high school graduate in my family, but I
Hmm.
remember sitting in my graduation. I remember this vividly. And we're in this big arena, and they've named all of the students to walk across the stage. And then the principal get on the mic and said, "This is how many. This is the amount of scholarship dollars our students was able to raise." And it was like in the millions. And my name wasn't attached to any of those scholarship dollars. So when I got to college, it was my time to redeem myself. I promised myself that I would not perform academically the way that I did in high school, the way that I'm going to perform in college. And from there, it was the confidence for me. It was the discipline for me. It was the execution of sitting in the front of the classroom, giving forth the effort to build the relationship with the teacher that I needed, raising my hand, asking questions, stand back after class. It was the effort. A lot of times teachers want to see effort. You might struggle, you might not get it, but as long as you put forth the effort, I think the teacher will meet you in the middle. And the more effort you put in, the more you'll begin to understand. I failed math, algebra 2, 3 years in a row. I failed science, chemistry, 3 years in a row. I got tired of failing. So when I got to college, I was determined to not fail. I did what I had to do. I realized I utilized my network. There's a tutorial service on campus. Let me go to this tutorial service every single day and get the help that I need so that I can understand this material, so that I can get the grades that I need to further excel. So not only did I discipline myself in the classroom by sitting in front of the class and asking questions, but I look for additional support And I was able to execute that support by gaining a better understanding of the material so that I can further execute. So it's a process.
One of the many things I find remarkable about you as a human being, that I'm always in awe of, is the average person would be discouraged and maybe even quit if their name wasn't attached to a college scholarship, if they had failed a class multiple times, right? It takes a special person to persevere, to get over the disappointment, to come back around and think next time will be different. And then you fail again, right? Then you
Mhm.
fail a third time. How do you know at what point in time do you just not lose determination? How do you maintain that that perseverance to push through to say, I can do this, I just haven't done it yet?
You know, I like to tell myself this still to this day, when you're at the bottom, there's only one way to go, and that's up. Literally only one way to go, and that's up. You can't go no further down. You like how I utilize those words, but no, it's real. When you're at the bottom, there's literally only one way to go, and that's up. But you got to keep trying. When you look at people like Michael Jordan, when he first entered the league, he was not the Michael Jordan that we all know today. He literally failed. Like he failed. He missed a lot of shots, but the more shots he took, the more he was able to perfect his craft. So utilizing that mindset, the more I failed, the more I was able to perfect my craft. It took me 3 different high schools to graduate high school. And understanding that I'm the first person in my family to graduate high school. I use that as a form of motivation to say, you know what? I don't care how many times I fail. I'm determined to pass. So
I love
that's the
that.
that's the process.
I just love that, because so many people get discouraged with failure. You took failure and used it as a motivator. And what I love most about it is that every single one of us has failed. And that to me is where growth comes from. I'm obsessed with reading books and hearing interviews from Navy SEALs, former Navy SEALs, right? Those guys are just a different breed. And they all will say, I couldn't do this, I failed at this or failed at that. Now we just look at them as the end result, the success, right? The guy who climbs, I knew a gal in my college class. She climbed Mount Everest, but the first 2 times she failed. She got
Mhm.
within 300 feet of the top of Mount Everest, had to turn back around, and she cried for days, thought it would never happen. And then she finally did it. So, there's all these great stories about Olympic athletes who failed and didn't, then they come back and then they win a medal, right? It's just not your time yet. Do you
Mhm.
believe that things are predetermined, or are they within our control if we work hard to change fate?
I believe things are in our control. You just can't give up though. You have to keep the faith no matter how many times you fail. And you're definitely going to go through every emotion. I'm talking blood, sweat, tears, mental breakdowns, throwing in the towel. But every time you fail, you have to get back up, brush yourself off, and go even harder. And I think mentally is where it all starts at. You have to be mentally strong. And that's a process within itself. Whether you have to write your goals down so that you can see it every day, whether you have to talk to yourself in the mirror every day and say, you know what, today's going to be the day that I fail. Whether you take it one day at a time, whether you take it 1 hour at a time, whether you take it 1 minute at a time, you have to have this determined spirit that you say, you know what, how many times I fail will not determine when I win. I sat back and I had to watch my mom struggle. I had to sit back and watch her feel like she was a failure because she wasn't able to provide for us, the way that she wanted to. No, I used that struggle and I said, you know what, mom, I'm going to succeed. And, it's not over within a year. It's not over within 2 years. It's a process. I'm still in the fight. And you have to stay in the fight no matter where you are, to say, you know what, I am successful.
I don't think people realize the value of failing. And by that, I mean, when you fail and you learn how to fail and not get discouraged and just go right past it, that's the definition to me of a successful entrepreneur, right? Which you and I share that mindset.
Yes,
If
sir.
you're afraid to fail, you won't try. But if
Mhm.
you're not afraid to fail because you welcome it, you enjoy it, you can deal with it, you've proven to yourself you can live with it and get past it, you will try more things and you will never be be prevented from trying to accomplish something for fear of failure. I think fear of failure prevents people from accomplishing all they can be, and it's because they haven't learned how to fail. Maybe their parents didn't let them fail at something, because we have a new generation of parents who are really on top of these kids, right? The
Right.
millennials, they've been told, we hear a stereotype about them that they don't take criticism well and they have participation trophies, right? All these things.
Mhm.
But you have learned how to fail, and so it doesn't mean anything to you anymore. You've seen life or death. It's so important in in the pursuit of your dreams that you're not afraid to fail.
Fail
And that to
fast.
me is the best part of this conversation.
Yes, sir. I mean, I like to tell people all the time, fail fast, and get back up so you can do it all over again. Um, Failure is my best friend, and I'm not saying it in a bad light, but all of the failures that I've had in my life has set me up to win. But you got to see it through. You got to see that light at the end of the tunnel, and you got to understand that this is a process, and I can't stress that enough. Some
Right.
people have failed in their teenage years, in their 20s, and they didn't get it right until they was 30 or 40, but they're winning now. So that's a matter of trust in the process.
People don't recognize that. I mean, you look at all these famous stories, Colonel Sanders, right?
Mhm.
He started his chicken chain when he was 55 years old after failing, and it was huge. Thomas Edison failed many times at all kinds of inventions, and people just remember
Yep,
he invented a light bulb, right? I mean,
yep.
so we weren't there through all the struggles that a lot of these successful people who are known for something successful, what they face and the adversity they overcame to achieve them.
Mhm.
So, but getting back to college, right? So you don't have a scholarship, you aren't particularly fond of reading, right? You
Right.
failed classes multiple times. Why did you want to go to college, and how did you get in? How did you decide to go to Shaw, and you must have applied and taken the SAT? But why would you think it's for you when when many people in your situation would have said, yeah, I guess college isn't for me, but not
Well,
you. You said, I can do this.
I um I I graduated high school with like a 2.2 GPA. So when I and then I applied for a ton of colleges, and out of all the colleges that I applied for, only one school accepted me. And you know what? I say this is my one shot. I have to take this opportunity. I have to run with it. And that's exactly what I did. When I got to campus, I literally immersed myself into campus life and did not look back. That was my only ticket away from the hood, if the low socioeconomic environment where I come from. That was my only opportunity to say, you know what, Naeem, this is your shot to make a difference, not only in your life, but in your family life, but in the generations that's going to come after you as well. So my life was a testament. It was bigger than me. So for me to be on the campus of Shaw University, which opened its doors for me, it wasn't time to play. Out of all that I've been through in middle school, all that I've been through in high school, it was literally time to go to work, and that's what I did. I stood apart. I dressed apart. I networked with the professors and the other administrators and staff on campus to get the resources that I need, and I took advantage of it. I literally took advantage of it in the tutorial services. In the financial aid office, trying to figure out who is who, so that next time they get a scholarship on their table and they need students to get this additional money to, they're gonna automatically think about me because I built this relationship with them. I represented myself very nice so that they can say, "Oh yeah, this young man is going to take this money and he's going to do the right thing with it." And I just applied pressure every year that I was in school.
I mean, in the business world these days, the term has been created called EQ, emotional
Mhm,
quotient, right?
mhm.
It's for people like us who don't have the highest IQ. People with EQ make more money. They're socially aware. They manage relationships. They manage themselves. They manage their own emotions. Right? You have an incredibly high EQ. And what it means is you know how to read a room, you know how to make the right relationships, you know how to follow through with discipline, with determination, and all of that shows in what in your road to success. I was going to say where you are now, but I'm even just into college, right?
Yes.
So you graduate college in 2017. I mean, it must have been such a, I was so happy for you that I flew straight out and we,
Yes,
we
you
had dinner
did.
together.
Yes, you
We had
did.
an incredible Uber ride who prayed for us. And I mean, I still love that story.
Yeah, man.
I mean, it meant as much to me as it did for you. So I was just so proud of you and watching it and seeing, first guy I decided I wanted to mentor, I learned, I didn't anticipate learning as much from you as I did. I was expected to teach you stuff and I ended up learning a lot from you. And I think we shared with each other enough to learn from one another. And so it's been an incredibly rewarding relationship for both of us. And I totally appreciate it. And I appreciate and respect you as a friend, as a man, as a person, and as a college graduate.
Likewise, thank you so much for always being in my corner, for being very transparent with me, for having those uncomfortable conversations, for understanding the background where I come from and me understanding the background you come from, and us being able to come together and really not allow any of that to determine the authenticity of our relationship. I think we need more of that. And if we had more people like you in this world, I think, society would be a much better place. I can't thank you enough. Every time I think about you flying out to Raleigh, North Carolina to have dinner with me, and then a guy praying for us like some random Uber driver literally said, "Can I pray for you guys?" He
Right.
prayed for us. So that just makes every interaction after that even more of a blessing because you could have said, "Oh, this kid has graduated. My work here is done." But no, you literally stuck with me. You're still here to this day and it really makes me feel warm and it makes me feel real good. I'm grateful for you. I really am.
Well, I appreciate your kind words, but try as you may, man, you ain't never getting rid of me. So I'm here for the duration.
Oh,
So
I love it. Thank you.
because I just find it so inspiring, So you graduate college, and here's where a lot of people I think have a misconception that the world will just open up for you now, roll out the red carpet, and hand you a high-paying job. But that's not really the case, is it?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You will
So
get thrown into the fire for sure.
right. So what it does is it gives you a valuable piece of paper and a diploma, which becomes table stakes these days for everybody applying for a job, but it's even more competitive than getting into college.
Hmm.
But
Absolutely.
because you're accustomed to rejection and failure, you have a leg up on other people who aren't.
Hmm.
So now you have an entrepreneurial mind spirit, which I think is sometimes you're gonna wish you didn't, but ultimately we can't change who we are, and I'm wired the same way. So it's fun to see, but you get out there in the job market and you take on some jobs, and some of the jobs you don't love, some of the bosses you don't love, some of the coworkers you don't love, which is all a rite of passage because those are valuable lessons in teaching us how to cope with a boss we don't like, with a coworker who wants to stab us in the back and step over us and manipulate us, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
we have to recognize who those people are, but still stay on our game. And how are you navigating those waters in what people call the real world now?
Well, I mean, you take everything that you've been through from your childhood to college to I think for me really is really not only watching others navigate, the real world experience and like the work life, but more so just really when I'm in a new space, I sit back and I observe. Like I like to read the room, and you got to know how to code switch. There's a lot of passive aggressive energy in the real world. People smiling in your face but talking behind your back and things of that nature. So being able to navigate that and not get emotional to the point where you're sabotaging your whole career because you're upset and you want to curse someone out. No, that's not how you do it. You really sit back, you observe, you take notes and before you can lead, you must follow. So for me coming into the workforce after college, it's really I was really thrown in the fire and I had to figure this out on my own, but with every failure that I've had in the past, it helped me to navigate the failures of being thrown in the fire and dropping the ball on certain job tasks and different things like that. But not only that, but it also taught me how to learn from those mistakes. So the next time I can further execute it. I don't want to sound like a broken record because I keep saying it, but that's literally the process. You take your life skills and you apply them to the working force, and I don't know.
One of the things you do really well is you speak publicly, which I think is a very difficult thing to do. It frightens people, right? I heard once that people people are so afraid of it, right? That they would rather die, or something stupid like that. And I thought, man, that means that they would rather be the guy in the coffin than the guy giving the eulogy. But I think to myself, how what a skill that is. It took me a long time to learn that. And is it just a lack of fear? Is it self-confidence? Are you just like sometimes we act confident when we're not? How do you get past that? And how did you become such a good public speaker?
I think it's practice really, Not only is it practice, but it's, we all have a story to tell, and people love to hear stories. So why not be able to share my story? The practice for me was when I was a drum major in my college and in my high school marching band. I'm the person that has to stand on the podium and speak to 150 different people at one time. So it taught me how to not only speak to a large group of people at one time, but it also taught me how to manage different personalities at one time. Understanding that I can't approach everybody the same, but everyone has a different approach that they're open to. Um, and then just being able to be free and vulnerable with sharing my story and understanding that my journey is not about Naeem Wilkins. I'm not sharing my story to for my own personal gain, but I'm sharing my story to help others. I'm sharing my story so that that young man that's stuck in the neighborhood that doesn't have a sense of direction can say, oh, you know what, now I ain't been through this, I can go through it and I can grow through it as well. So once you take yourself out of the front and put others in front of you, then that's more than enough reason to share out, and the more that you help others, the universe will continue to help you as well.
Wow, I love that. And I think also what I'm hearing there, when you said, to be vulnerable, a lot of people are too proud, and that's where the fear comes in. But the
Mhm.
other thing I'm hearing from you, and this is an important point to younger people, is there's no magic sauce. There's no special pill you can take. It's practice, it's stumbling, it's failure, it's not being afraid. What's the worst that can happen? I won't, they won't remember me the next. That's how I get past it. I say, I don't really care. I'll be the first. I'll raise my hand, I volunteer. If I look
Mhm.
stupid, they're not even going to remember the next day. They got their own problems,
Right.
right? But
Yeah.
I know I'm going to benefit from putting myself in this uncomfortable position to be able to grow from it. I always say, if you're not learning, you're not growing.
And I like how you say you put yourself in this uncomfortable position because for me, I had to learn how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think that's really the main thing. I come from the hood. What do I look like being on a Zoom call with this white middle class guy? And in the very beginning, I was very uncomfortable. But to that point, I had to learn how to be uncomfortable I had to learn how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And eventually it becomes natural. So it's like trial and error. It's like practice. It's like going to the gym and trying to perfect that layup or trying to perfect that 3-point shot. Eventually you're going to get it, but it takes some uncomfortableness. It takes going through those growing pains, through those aches, those body aches, and then eventually your body will adjust. So you utilize that same concept with being able to navigate life, with being able to navigate in different rooms. And I'm no longer uncomfortable because I've been in this situation many different times, and each situation is going to be different. But I had to practice, by throwing myself out there in the fire, throwing myself out there in the deep end of the pool, and really learning how to swim on my own.
Well, one of the things I find special about you that I didn't have in myself at a younger age, right? When you're young and you come out, you're establishing yourself, you're proving yourself. And so we do that through showing toughness,
Mhm.
right? And one of the things that I feel like you have that I've learned over time is kindness and empathy, which is a strength, right? people are sometimes going through something we don't realize. And I feel badly for them that they have to be so uncomfortable and treat people so badly, right? Subordinates, coworkers, whomever they can. If they were treated badly, they're going to treat someone else badly. And I often wonder, what's the net effect of that, right?
Mhm.
It is not furthering relationships. In fact, it damages them. Certainly not going to help you get any more customers, right? No one's
Right,
going to remember that other than how you made them feel and therefore not want to associate with you any further, right?
right.
They're going to tell other people about it. So it's a downward spiral and people still can't seem to help themselves. But you lead with kindness and empathy, and you're really always about trying to figure out where this person is coming from, what they've been through. I haven't walked a mile in their shoes. How did you get that sense of empathy that you carry with you every day to people you meet?
Because I have a heart, and having a heart, we all have a heart, but I've been through it. I've been through failure. I've been through the hardships. I've been through adversity. So I understand that, we're all going through it. So if there's a person that's like, has an attitude, I don't automatically respond with the attitude. I ask myself, and I think critically, what's wrong with this person? What triggered that behavior? And once I ask myself that, I further ask myself, what can I do to add value, to change that behavior, in a positive light, So it's not like combating against it, but it's more so trying to help improve people because you never know what people are going through these days.
Yep. So you're being thoughtful about it.
Hmm.
And I mean, see, that's what I love. That's how that used the word authentic earlier. And that's you. You don't have to front anything to put up this big, tough veneer. You are who you are. It speaks for itself. And that's one of the things I just respect about you, that you may not even realize you possess this incredible talent to the world. It shows the world, here's who I am. Take it or leave it, you
Right.
know?
Yes, sir.
And I just appreciate that about you so much. So, I mean, do you think that you are where you are because of luck or talent?
I think I'm where I am today because of hard work, because of dedication, because of my faith, because I understand that I have a talent and, just trying to perfect and, further craft that talent. I'm where I'm at today because I have a network of people that see my potential and me staying consistent and communicating with these people and not necessarily letting opportunities to pass me by is the reason why I'm where I'm at today. I like to say that, it's absolutely disrespectful to be lazy when you have people that believe in you. So it's people like yourself, people like Mr. Pearlman, people like Cam that believe in me. So when I'm in work or when I'm in the classroom studying, I gotta understand that it's not just about me, but it's a whole team of people that's rooting for me that want to see me succeed. But ultimately, the only way to get myself to the next level is if I put in the work. Because the people that believe in me can't put the work in for me; they can only believe in me. But ultimately, it's up to me to take myself to the next level, and that's by executing my goals, by being intentional about my work ethic, by being intentional about the discipline that I portray, and by being intentional about wanting to help others. I can't have all these people come into my life and help me and I not pay it forward. That's giving society, that's doing a disservice to society. How do we create this cycle of change? How do we create this cycle of, transforming lives if, it gets to me and then I just stop the cycle? No, it's about paying it forward and understanding that it's bigger than me for people
Man,
that came before me and for people that's going to come after me.
yeah, I'm always so fascinated by our conversations, which is why I want to record this and get it out there, because I think there's value in it for the next generation of people. People who come from such different places as you and I coming together. You know what you seem like to me now, Naeem, after 4 years being out in the real world and having a number of jobs? You seem like a man who's comfortable in his own skin, who's determined to be successful, who's in service of others. I respect you. I love you as a friend, as a brother, and I'm just so excited for what the future holds for you as you keep progressing on your journey.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I love you just as much. I'm just as grateful for you. This is truly inspiring. Like you really give me hope. You give me vision. You bring me joy, and you tell me more about myself than what I see. And that alone really sets the tone. It sets the standard for how much work I still need to put in to further reach where you see me at. So thank you
Well,
so much for those words. Thank
welcome.
you for
Well,
always.
you know I'll come down on you too, man. I'm not just going to sugarcoat it. If I tell you, if I see something that you're doing, I'll let you know it. I've been
Yes, sir.
honest enough with you about that, and that's what true friendship is all about.
Absolutely.
So I
Yes, sir.
hope we have many more of these conversations in the future. And this is just the first of many. And I think that we can continue to do this because the discussions we have, now that we've been brought up to speed from where you've come from to where you are, we now can take this banter, this relationship, two people from different worlds colliding together with mutual respect, and now try to address, maybe, dare I say, even solve some of the world's problems that are right in front of us.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
And that's some of the things that I think a lot of people want to hear about. They're uncomfortable to ask the questions, but they're eager to hear the answers. And
Mm.
so you and I think, will do a great service by broaching those topics and seeing what it is we can do.
Yes, sir.
Um,
I'm
so
looking
one of the
forward
things
to
I
that.
wanted to tell you was for your time today, which is valuable. I'm writing you a check for $500, so you can take yourself to dinner, spend a little time, have a little breathing room, do whatever you want with it, just for my appreciation for you and your time.
Wow. This conversation is priceless. Um, I can't thank you enough for always just showing up in my life and being present. Yeah, I'm just extremely grateful. I wasn't expecting anything. Like I said, these conversations are priceless. This work that we're doing is work. You can't put a dollar sign on this work. This is about changing lives, about transforming lives, and seeing people to, really be at their very best. And I'm just grateful. I'm so grateful for you. I can't thank you enough. Like, wow.
My pleasure. I get just as much out of it, man, and I just wanted to compensate you how's it feel? You make $500 an hour now.
Hey, I just have to stay consistent. So I'm looking forward to the next conversation with the next gentleman, just like you. So
Good for
no,
you,
no,
man.
all seriously, thank you so much for all that you
Um, my brother, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you. I'm going to call you. Let's plan a dinner together so we can go out, have some fun, have some drinks and laughs, and continue to solve some of the world's problems.
awesome. I'm looking forward to that. This was extremely fun. Thank you for always thinking of me, and I can't wait for our next conversation.
You got it. Same.
Yes, sir. Well,
Take
thank you
care.
so much, and let me know if you need anything.
You know I will.
All
Thank
right.
you. Take
No
care.
problem. All right. Yes,
Bye.
sir. You too.